So to start with a parallel job, we need to select new parallel job, which we can do with this icon, which is which is coming over here. We need to click this particular icon and need to select a parallel job. So in real time in our projects, we are going to get a requirement. In the requirement, they specifically give the details about the source system and the type of transformations that we need to apply on the source data and where we need to finally load the data. Complete requirement will come through team leads. So they will give all the connection details and all the source and target system details as well. Only thing we need to do is we need to connect to those source systems and we need to fulfill the requirement by applying the needed transformations over there. So in our case, let's consider employee data in a file, in a text file. Let me show you. I have already taken one sample data, which is having around 7 to 8 records. So this is the data which I have taken. And the file name is employee full.txt. Here, each column is separated with a pipe symbol. So Avinash is my employee name, 101 is employee code, 10 is department, A is grade, M is male or female, which is telling about the gender of that particular employee. Accounting is the department name and their salary. So this is which is available in this particular text file. Each of the column is separated with a delimiter. That delimiter is pipe symbol over here. Each column is separated by a symbol which is called as delimiter. These things we need to make sure, because while configuring the things in the stages, we need to explicitly mention those things. What is the delimiter, how the data residing in our source system, all those properties we need to tell to the stage so that it can able to match with the defined configuration. Okay, so let's connect to this particular file and try to do a filtering operation. So here I see department number 10, 20 and 30, right? What we will do is we'll try to save department number 10 data to a separate file, department number 20 data to a separate file, and department number 30 to a separate file. We'll try to filter the data based on department number, and even the target file also let's keep as a file itself. Since it is the first job, let's try to have very simple one so that it will be easy to understand. Okay, so I have opened a fresh parallel job, new parallel job, which is not yet saved. You can see it is untitled one. Okay, so here I need to have the palette. Palette is something like a geometry box where we are going to have all the tools or all the stages that are required to develop a job. If it is not available over here, go to view and select that palette. Then it is going to come. If sometimes repository also will not appear in the display. In those cases as well, go to the view and check this repository box. Okay, so now my source is nothing but a text file, right? So to select that file, here there is a tab which is showing coming up as a file system. So here we are going to have all the sort of files like unstructured data, which is nothing but to connect to a XLS file or XLSX file. This particular stage is going to be used. For .txt and .csv, sequential file is going to be used. For dataset, dataset means the file which is being prepared by a Datastage. So the data which is stored in a dataset will be saved in binary format. Only zeros and ones will be there in this dataset. Say suppose in my text file I do have 1 lakh records, and that is taking around 10 KB of memory. If I save the same file in a dataset, that will consume around only 5 KB. So it will reduce the size of the file, and it also changes the data to binary format, not as the format how we can able to read it. So here I can read this one as Avinash, right? But if it is a data set, we can't able to read the data because that is going to be saved in binary format. What is the purpose of data set is, say suppose when we are dealing with very large amounts of data and we would like to have the files as an intermediate one. Like in data warehouse architecture, we have seen staging area, right? Which is nothing but when we would like to save the data as some intermediate data, and that data size is very huge. In those cases, we can take help of dataset. Anyhow, we are not going to be used for viewing the data, right? In those cases, if we take the help of dataset, then it is going to consume very less memory, and it will be much more fast enough to extract or to save the data. That's the reason dataset is much more useful when we are dealing with intermediate stages and when we are dealing with large datasets. That is dataset. Amazon S3 is a file system which is available on AWS cloud. Say suppose my source is a file which is residing on Amazon S3, then we can plug into this particular file. Basically, this file tab is going to have all types of file stages to which we can able to connect. These file stages are going to be used either source or target, but not for processing or transformation. Okay, so let me pull sequential stage. Since our source is text file, I'm just dragging and dropping over here. And then I would like to filter the data, right? So all the transformations are going to available in processing stage, processing tab. So click on the processing tab. There you can find the filter option. So here you can see the filter stage. So I'm dragging this filter stage and dropping to my drawing area. Then I am thinking to save the files again as text files. So I want 3 files because I do have 3 different departments. Okay, so first let's do only for department 10. Later we will extend it to department 20 and 30. Okay, so now I have done with dragging the stages to my drawing area where the skeleton part is completed. I need to link these things. So first it will start from here, then it needs to go to the filter stage, right? So right click on this stage, drag it, and then drop to the target. Then you will get a link like this. Okay, after after filter, again the link need to be connected to my target. So I'm also done with linking the stages. The next part is I need to rename these things because sequential file 0 will not giving me any context over here. Just by looking at the stage, I could not able to get what it is and which kind of file it is, right? So I'm giving some reasonable name over here. SEQ employee, which is nothing but sequential file, and that is having employee data. And this link is nothing but going to filter stage. So I'm giving a name, link to filter. In real-time projects, they will follow certain standards while maintaining this naming of the stages or links. So by looking into the existing jobs in that particular project, we can able to get how they are using the nomenclature for naming all these stages. Okay, for filter, I'm keeping it as filter department because we are applying the filter on department. Then here it is linked to target, and this is my target file. So sequential DGT employee. Okay, so I'm done with naming also. Now the next thing is I need to plug in these things. Okay, so I'm opening the sequential file stage. Let's understand how to plug in the sequential file stage. I double clicked on that particular icon, which is going to open the plugins available for this particular sequential file stage. At top, we do have two things or two menus. One is stage, other one is output. So stage is something which is talking about the properties of this particular stage, which is sequential stage. The name which we have given to this stage is SEQ employee. We can edit the name like how I did over here, or else we can also give the same name here in the stage tab. Okay, general tab is going to be used to give some description about this stage. Generally we will not give anything, but for understanding purpose or to have some standardization in our project, we can write some description about this particular stage. For that purpose, we do have this general tab. Advanced. So in the advanced tab, we are going to have execution mode, combinability mode, and partitioning. So to make you understand these things, first we need to understand the execution of a job. We will discuss this executions post couple of days, because now it is not understandable. Datastage is going to execute the jobs in parallelism mode. I'll explain what is parallelism and what is sequential. Then you are going to understand the execution mode and the partitioning also. So to understand this partitioning, first we need to understand partitioning and sorting techniques. That is another topic. So for now, I'm not giving any context in this advanced tab, but going forward, I'll explain those things. NLS map is going to have the default uh, text code or language code that we are going to use to read the file. Chinese characters does not appear in our keyboard. In the similar way, Japanese characters are also will not appear in our keyboard, but even Spanish also. So some of the countries will not use English. They are going to use some other language, and they are also going to save the data in that particular language only. So for each and every sort of language, there will be some code available, which is nothing but that code being assigned by some standard system. So by default, while creating the project itself, they are going to use a code over here. That code is this one. So by default, stage is going to be set up with the default language. But the main context over here is it is nothing but what kind of languaging code we are going to select to read this particular file. If this is not incompatible with this project default, or say suppose data is residing on mainframe systems. Mainframes is a database system which is owned by IBM again. Okay, so the data which is being saved on a mainframe database is going to be saved in episodic data. Okay, when there is a need of reading that episodic data, we need to select this particular language. In the similar way, when there is a need of changing the data, then we need to select these NLS map. No need to worry if this is not understandable also, because we will not change this particular setting most of the times. 99.9% we will not change this setting. This is going to be in default only. I am giving the details only for the purpose of understanding. These two tabs will talk the same thing. What is the language that we are going to pick for this particular stage? So this is all about stage tab. Let's go to output tab. So this output, we don't see any input tab over here. So here if you see, we see a stage and there is an output link. That's the reason when we open it, we can see two things, stage and output. Whereas for this particular stage, there is input link and there is also output link. So we are going to get three menu bars. One is input, other one is stage, other one is output. Let me open and show you. See, stage, input, and output. And for the last one, we do have only input and stage. So the same will appear over here, stage and input. Hope these tabs are understandable now. Whatever the plugins are available, those many menus are going to be pop in the top. Okay. Now let's try to understand the output tab of a sequential file. Again, in the general tab, there will be description. This is only for the purpose of adding some notes about this particular stage. And here you can see link to filter, which is nothing but the link name. So what is the stage name that we have given? Sequential employee. Whereas what is the link name that we have given? Link to filter. That means now we are plugging in this link. We are adding the plugins, or we are adding the configuration for this particular link. So if we add some details on the output section, then that also implies to the input section of this stage as well. Okay. So here in the properties, we talked about this general tab. Now let's go to the second tab, which is properties. In the properties, there are again two options. One is source, other one is options. So here it is asking from where you would like to connect to. So we need to give path and file name as well. If you, there is no need to remember all these things, because all these are going to available whenever we do open, right? So no need to remember these things. When we start practicing the things, we will habituate to these options as well. So here it is asking from where you would like to connect. And we also see some help text over here. We need to give name of the file that data will be read from. That means we need to give the file path and file name over here. Okay, so this is my file path, right? I'm copying this path and I'm pasting it over here. And I also need to give the file name as well. As of now, I just saved the path. File name is employee underscore full dot text. So I'm giving the same name, employee underscore full dot txt. Okay. So we have given the file path and file name. Later, the second plugin is what is the read method? Are we going to read a single file or multiple files at a single time? So we can read the files in two ways. One is to read a specific file or to read multiple files at a single time. So how can we read multiple files at a single time? Means here there is second option, file pattern. That means if 10 files or more than one file is following some pattern, pattern means similar way of naming, then we can read all those files at a single time. So when I selected this file pattern, it is again asking what is the pattern of your file. I'll give star.txt. That means star means all. So all the files ending with .txt. I would like to read all the files that are ending with .txt. Then I can represent it star.txt. Okay. Likewise, if there is certain pattern which is followed by my source files and I would like to read multiple files at a single time, in such cases, we can select this read method as file pattern. But in general and most of the times, we will read specific files only. So while reading them, we just need to give the file path and file name. So again, I'm giving the same details. Employee full.txt. Then here in the options, we need to give the other details of that particular file which we are reading. First line is column names. That means when we open the file, can we able to see the column names over here? No, right? We can directly see the data only. So my first line is not a column name. So let's keep the false as is. Say suppose there is column name available in the first line, then we need to make it as true. Okay. First, let's read like this. Then I will also change that and I'll explain how to make it true as well. And these things keep as is. And let me explain these things also. Keep file partitions. So this is going to be true if we would like to read the data based on some condition or based on some partition. By default, it will be in false and there is no need to worry on this particular option as well. Missing file mode. So you can see the information over here on this particular option. It is saying error to stop the job if one of the file mentioned does not exist or skip it. That means, say suppose there is no file available. I'm telling this stage that there is a file available at this path and file name is employee full.txt. Say suppose this employee full.txt is not available, then what I need to do? That is what it is asking in this option. So how many options are available? We can check over here. If it is missing also, that's fine. Then we need to select OK. If it is, if we would like to stop the job, then we'll keep error. And by default, it comes with depends. Reject mode. Reject mode means we are going to give the formatting details also, like what is the delimiter, what is the final delimiter, and are there any other properties need to be selected. All those kind of stuff we can add on in the formatting tab. Say suppose those formatting rules are not followed by any of the data. Like here I mentioned delimiter as pipe here it is comma, but for the file which we have picked up, delimiter is pipe. Here delimiter is pipe symbol, right? Pipe means the key which is resides above enter button in our keyboard. So this pipe symbol is the delimiter, right? So if some row is not having that particular delimiter, say suppose in the second row, I removed the pipe and I kept a comma instead of pipe, then this record is going to be rejected because this is not following the rules that we have mentioned in this particular job. In that case, would you like to save that record to a separate file or not? That is what here it is asking. Say suppose some data is being rejected because of some reason, then what would you like to do with that rejections? So here if I keep continue, that means do not do anything. Don't do anything on those rejected rows. Or else I would like to know which rows are not following the rules. Then what I do, I'll keep as output so that I can save all the rejected data to a separate file. Say suppose I would like to fail the job. If some data is not following the condition which is been defined in this particular job, then I would like to stop the job. Then I need to select this fail. Okay. Here, let's keep continue as default. And report progress. This is going to be add the logging to our job execution. Okay. This is all about properties tab. Next, go to the format tab. Here, it will ask the details of the data. So what is the final delimiter of your data? Do I have any delimiter over here? No, right? That means final delimiter is end only. Actual delimiter is pipe symbol because here each column is separated with pipe symbol. So actual delimiter is pipe. Quote means, so for the data, if I do have something like this, for each of the data, if I do have data like that, then we need to give quote as double. Say suppose the data is enclosed in single quotes like this. Then we'll give the quote as single. But here nothing is there, so we need to select here none. Okay. No need to do any plugins over here in this particular section. But what this is for is we would like to read the data using some width, some length. Then we need to set them up over here. But as I told, these are not needed for now. Let's do not touch this type defaults. This is just to plug in any data type related changes need to be defined. Then we will go to this particular section. Okay. In the column section, we need to give the metadata. Metadata means we already talked about this. The data which is going to describe about our actual data is called metadata. That data we need to define over here. So what is my first column? Employee name. Second one is employee ID. Third one is department number. Let me add all those things over here. But in our project, we are going to receive that metadata from the requirement itself. But for now, I am adding as the requirement is created by us. So the first column is employee name, and employee name always takes characters. So character is my data type. Length, let's give as 10. Nullable, no. And employee ID, EMP ID. Employee ID is going to be a numeric, which is integer. Length is 4. Nullable, no. Department number, grade, gender. Department ID, grade, gender, department name and salary. Department name and salary. So we are done with the column names. Let's concentrate on the sequence data types. Department ID is going to be in integer, which is numeric. Grade character, gender character, department name character, salary again integer. So let's give some length as per the definition. Department ID is going to take 2 digits only. Grade, yeah.
మీరు ఆ రూల్స్ ని ఎలా యాడ్ చేశారు?
So if I type something over here, immediately the next row is going to pop up here.
Okay.
If I give A over here and I'm going to the next line, if I double click over here, immediately the next row is going to be appended. For example, I would like to delete this rows. Select that complete row on leftmost icon which is coming over here and click on the delete button which is available in your desktop, that is going to be deleted. Or right click over here and do delete row. Since nothing is there, it is not go. The delete row is disabled because no data is available over here. So there is no eighth column, right? I would like to delete this row. Right click on this row and click on delete row. That is going to be deleted. Even you can right click and click on add row. This insert row is going to add one more row for you. Okay. So salary is again integer. Gender will take only one. Length. Department name, let's give 10. And salary, let's give 5 digits. So we have done with assigning the metadata as well. Here we are going to get buffering mode. Say suppose I do have very large file, then the default memory which is been allocated for this particular stage is not enough. Then what I'm going to do is I'll make use of these things and I'll change these memories. So let me give some background on this one. So to do these activities on the server where Datastage installed, while executing, Datastage need to allocate some memory for this particular stage. So while allocating that memory, by default, it will pick these many bytes. 3145 to 8 bytes is going to be allocated for my sequential stage. But say suppose I do have very large amount of data, which is almost like 10 millions or some 70 to 80 millions of data. Then such data is not going to be accommodated with this size. Then what I'm going to do is I'll increase that one by selecting the auto buffer, and here I'm going to increase that value. But let's keep default itself because that is fine. We are using only 8 rows. Once after plugging in or once after adding all these configurations, check the view data option so that you can able to see the data which has been configured. If this view data is not popping up, that means some error is there in your plugin. So once after adding all the details, make sure you can able to see the data from here. It is still connecting. So it is giving some error. No rows were returned from the view data command. Would you like to view the command's output? Yes. Here some error is there. That's the reason I could not able to see it. So here it is saying delimiter not seen at offset 10. I'm closing this one. Let me go back. Let me save this file and close this one and try to view the data again. So all my data is rejecting over here because at employee name and at department name, it is saying I have not seen any delimiter which has been mentioned. Let me check my file on Notepad++. Let me try to increase the length of the first column, which is employee name, because some of the data is having around 10 to 11 characters. Here I just gave only 10. So let me give around 15 and try to read it again. Because two names are there, Anuranjani and some other name, Amravati, which is having more number of characters. Now the error is came at accounting 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. department name, let me give again 20. So it is a good practice to give the lengths as well. Otherwise, it is going to consume the default length of this particular data type. If it is a char type of data type, then that is going to have some default memory like 255 or 256. How many columns total? 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry, 7. And here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I can able to see it. So I need to give more length. That's the reason it is not able to pick up or it is not able to show up the data. So here if you see, we can able to view the data. So to know that my plugins are correct, we once we click on that view data, then we must able to see the data like this. So we are good on the stage connection now. Okay. So far we have gone through all these things, right? But the most important plugins for a sequential stage is only 3. One is what is the file path and file name, and whether the first line is column name true or false, and what is the delimiters that are available in that particular file. These are the 3 things that we need to take care. Rest all can be default. In general, I explain those things only for the purpose of understanding, but whenever we are dealing with the sequential file stage, the main things that we need to consider is file path, file name, is the first line column names or not, and the third thing that we need to consider is what are all the delimiters that are available in the data. So we are done with this particular stage plugin. Now let's go to filter stage. So here in the input stage, there is nothing to change because already we have done the plugin for this input link. Okay. Even columns also comes up over here. But in the output, no columns are available. We need to tell which columns need to be moved to the next stage. So hope we are good on this part. General is not going to have anything. Partitioning, again, I will explain. By default, it will take auto partitioning. When we discuss about partitioning and sorting techniques, that time I will explain what is the purpose of all these partitions. Okay. And columns is going to have the metadata. Advanced is going to have the buffer mode. Buffer mode we already discussed. So the next setup that we need to do here in the stage is what is the type of filter that we need to do on which particular column. So I would like to add the filter on department ID, right? So I need to write that column name over here, department ID. How the column name is added to the columns that we need to see. We need to give the exact name, otherwise it will not understand. So I copied it and I'm pasting it. What is my filtering criteria? Where department ID is 10. So I'm giving the same. Where department ID is 10. Would you like to reject the data on this apart, like what are all the rows which are filtering on this condition? You are going to save that one. But would you like to save the rejected data also? That thing we can add on here, but I'm keeping as is for now. Again, the advanced tab is going to have the execution mode and partitioning, which will be understandable when we talk on that partitioning section, partitioning techniques. Link ordering. This is not needed for now, but let me give some background on this link ordering. Okay. So that rejections are there, right? Say suppose from here I'm getting some 10 rows. Out of 10 rows, based on this filter, only 5 rows are qualified. So it is asking what about the next 5? What would you like to do with the data which is not satisfying this filter? Would you like to capture? Then we will get a reject link. Okay. That reject link ordering need to be mentioned in this link ordering. Okay. For now, let's see how to filter the data. Later, we will take up the advanced options which are over here. NLS is again for picking up the language setting. So this is not needed. That's all. So out of all these things, the main thing which we need to take care about is the where clause. On which particular condition would you like to filter the data? That's it, which is already been added. Then we need to go to the next tab, which is output tab. So out of these 7 columns, would you like all the columns or only 3 columns in your final file? So if we would like to drag all the columns, then click on these columns, drag, drop. All the things will be flowed to my output. But say suppose I don't want all the columns, then delete everything and drag the column, drop, which are all needed. Like this. Drag and drop. That's it. So you can map only the columns which are needed in your output. That is also added to your requirement. Say suppose from the source, take these columns, and in the output file, I just want only couple of columns which are as per the mention. Like it is explicitly going to be asked by the requirement itself. So let's take all the columns. I'm deleting all this and mapping all the columns. That's it. The filter section is done. Next, the final section. So here also we are going to have similar options, but the major thing that we need to take care about is where would you like to add your target file and what is the file name, what is the formatting. These are the 3 main sections. So I would like to save in the same March folder. So I'm copying this path. Adding over here and giving the file name department10.txt. So I have given file path and file name. Next thing is formatting. I'll keep as is. The delimiter will come in comma and double quotes will be added to my data. Okay. Okay. So we are done with the job development now. Let me save this file. Click Ctrl S where you would like to save the job. In the jobs folder, I'm creating a separate folder. And I would like to save in March. And my job name, let me give it as demo filter and save. I developed the job, I saved the job. The next thing is we need to compile it. So job compiled successfully. Say suppose if there is some error, like in the mapping, or say suppose in the stage, I have not given this where clause. I deleted the where condition. I saved and I'm compiling. Then it is going to give me an error. Property where clause for filter department is required, but that is empty. So that's how we are going to get errors in compilation. Compilation must be successful before execution. If something is missing, that is going to be explicitly given in the error while we are compiling. I am recompiling because I added the where clause. Now I need to execute it. For execution, this green button is the symbol. I'm just running this one. So while processing, this black will go to blue. Since these are only 8 rows, no blue color appeared. But in real time processing, since that is going to have more number of records, blue will come while executing the job. After completion, green will appear. So my job is completed. That means this job created a file naming department filter or something we have given, right? Let's go to the March folder. See, this file is created, department10.txt. Let me open this file. So while creating the file, we have asked comma as delimiter. That's the reason we have C the delimiter as comma and the double quotes been added to 1 second.
అయిపోతుంది ఒక 5 minutes ఈలోపు తెచ్చుకో తిను
The double quotes been added to my data now. So this is how we need to create a job for filtering the data. Hope this is understandable. If you do have 1 second, Tulsi, can you go on mute? I could not able to mute you.
చూడు ఎంత ఉందో.
Okay. So this is how we need to develop a parallel job. Very simple one. Hope this is understandable. To see the logs on designer, Control L is the shortcut. If you click on Control L, you can see when the job is started, how the job execution is done, how many records been imported in your sequential file stage. So you will get each and every minute detail that is been added to your job. So here your stage name is sequential employee, right? So sequential employee imported 8 records successfully, 0 records rejected. And to sequential target employee, 3 records exported successfully and 0 rejected. Like this, what is the start time and how much time will it taken for the execution? What are all the other setup that has been added for this particular job? Everything is going to be logged in the job logs. To see the logs in the designing console, you can click on Control plus L. And if you would like to see explicitly the logs, we can see those logs on director console. Where is this is my director client. So let me open it and show you the logs. This director is only for the purpose of monitoring or executing the jobs. So where we have saved the job inside March folder, right? So this is my project name, D stage 1 expanded. In the jobs, we do have the job in March folder. So the job is finished. When it is started, 12:21 p.m. When it is been executed last time, 12:22. What is the time taken by the job completion? It is 4 seconds. To see the logs, select the job and click on this icon, which is log icon. Then you can able to see the logs. Whatever you are seeing over there, that is going to come over here. In real time, we do have more number of stages in general. So tomorrow we will see another processing stage and we will try to implement it. Thank you. Hope this is understandable. If something is missing or you're stuck somewhere, let me know. I can explain where it has been stuck. Okay. Thank you. Practice on your machine and let me know if you're stuck in between also.